Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to Folklore, the official gathering place for newbies, novices, and OG diehard fans of the golden age of prime time. I'm your host, Jet, viewing and reviewing one of Sophia's studiest prime storylines of 1980 or 81. So whether you're new to this or true to this, sit back and enjoy. Tell the kids to play outside or out of sight. Tell Dave no questions, suggestions, or concerns. For the next 25 to 35 minutes, everyone else in earshot, cool, quiet, or kicked out of your only option because we have an exciting announcement. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is Folklore. Hello, gorgeous. Welcome back to Folklore, the finest, most exciting, most exclusive soap opera review show on the airwaves. Hope you guys are having a wonderful day. I am elated. I didn't realize Christmas came early this year. Christmas came not on December 25th, but on December 1st. I didn't realize this until December 6th when I was minding my business, riding in the car with my husband, scrolling on my phone, and I noticed something that said Knott's Landing. Now, usually I jump over those, I avoid it. Sometimes I'll take a quick little peek at the title to decide whether or not I want to delve into it. But this says Knott's Landing is now streaming on Prime. Guys, oh my God, I'm so excited. I am so pumped. If you didn't know that, run, don't walk to Amazon Prime, borrow a password for God's sakes if you have to. Do the free trial for 7 days and binge it over the holidays. Knott's Landing is back, and it took so long. I'm wondering why these networks decide, or how they decide rather, what to release and not to release. I can't imagine why this wasn't released sooner. I saw a little clip on YouTube too. It's 45 years old. It premiered 45 years ago in November. So it's long overdue and people still enjoy it. New audiences can find this now. I am beyond pumped, y'all. And oh my God. So I think I'm going to entertain myself tomorrow by going back and watching season 1 again. Now that I'm looking at everybody through different eyes to see if it's as good as I think it is, which I know it is. The character progression is giving everything it needs to. Every character is interesting. I would be upset if any of them left, even Richard. But I'm so excited. Okay, enough about that. Let's jump into season 2, episode 14. This episode is called Moments of Truth. There's so much going on this one. Grab yourself something bubbly and bright, borrow your friend's password, watch it for yourself, and then come back here. Tell me the show ain't the macaroni. Season 2, episode 14, Moments of Truth. Location really is so important when you think about where you're going to live or where you're going to shoot a movie or shoot a show. Knott's Landing being a suburb of LA makes this so much more interesting because you can have an influx of crime. You can have times of peace because it's supposed to be quiet. It's a suburbs. This episode brings yet another piece of drama to the cul-de-sac. We've had dirt bags on dirt bikes come through and run amok. So they clearly do not live in a gated community. Anyone can come and go as they please. Well, on this particular night, the lady folks are all gathered at Val and Gary's house, having a little get together for Ginger, having like a mini baby shower. They're actually having dinner and they're having a good old time. Abby's there, Karen's there, Laura's there, and Diana shows up too. Val, of course, is hosting, and they're talking about their food cravings, waking up in the middle of the night making grilled cheese jalapeno sandwiches with onions. And I'm like, that sounds good, even if you're not pregnant. But they're just kind of going through the woes and the highs and lows of being pregnant. Abby's like, oh my gosh, sex is so amazing when you're pregnant. Karen's like, girl, please don't talk about this in front of your niece, not knowing Diana has had her own little rendezvous, which they haven't brought up again, which I think is in good taste because this isn't exactly a teenage soap opera. When Diana is full grown, I'm sure she'll be in heavy rotation. So while the women are enjoying champagne at Ginger's baby shower, Ginger too is sipping on some champagne. I keep forgetting the liquor laws are different. Nobody was concerned about a 6-month, apparently she's showing, so she's at least 6-7 months, pregnant woman taking it to the head. No one cares. The men folk are over at a bar, and Gary's still on the wagon.
But he, Sid, Richard, and Kenny are just kind of chopping it up, talking about boxing. And there's a funny scene. Richard's trying to hit on this girl at the bar. She's giving him absolutely nothing because obviously she has a man. Her man walks up. He leaves, goes over to the table talking about, booze and broads. This is such a wonderful thing. They're talking about the fighters, how this kid from Mexico was like the new Sugar Ray Leonard. It's amazing. And Sid stands up and he reaches over the table and he's like play boxing with Kenny. He's like, hey, Kenny, can you fight? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking to myself, Kenny's chin, whether he wants to admit it or not, still has the barcode on it. He just ripped that out the plastic and had that installed. You can't punch a face like Kenny and run the risk of ruining that surgery. I don't know if it's surgery or not. He has a very distinct and very prominent chin that may or may not be organically grown. Either way, it looks fantastic. And I'm thinking that face is way too pretty. Kenny has not been in any fights. This episode made me realize something, though. Gary Ewing is about that life. If ever there's smoke to be had, Gary wants it. Maybe it's all that repressed Ewing energy. He's not quite a JR, not quite a Bobby. She's, I'm so mad and people want so much from me. Oh. So when the opportunity presents itself to throw them bows, as we used to say back in the day, Gary is ready, willing, and definitely able. But we'll get to that soon enough. So the men folk and the women folk are having their respective parties celebrating the birth of Ginger and Kenny's new baby, who is yet to be born, but they're just celebrating. They're opening gifts at the house with Val, and Valene, of course, brings out this really beautiful cake. Hey girl, let's have a little cake. And the women are like, yeah. So Karen sends Diana into the kitchen to get dessert forks and dessert plates. Timing is perfection. Have you ever almost did something and just stopped? One day, I was about to leave for work and I was going to stop on the way and pick up coffee and breakfast, but I was like, I just didn't really feel like it. Because I'm like, if I stop once, I'm going to have to stop twice. I'd really rather just kind of spend a little more time at home. I'll make my coffee here and I'll go. The amount of time that it would have taken me to gather my purse, go start my car, and then drive off, I hear this really, really, really loud crash. When I go to investigate it, this was years ago when I was living in an apartment, there had been like this massive pile up, this huge crash. I would have 100% been in that, but I'm like, no, I'm just going to make my coffee at home today. And then I'll head on into work. I was late, but I had a great excuse. So, I did actually end up getting coffee because my nerves were frazzled. What was I supposed to do? Karen had that same little thing. Hey, Diana, go in there, get some cake plates and cake forks and come on out. Well, no sooner than she does this, Diana goes in the kitchen. Val starts winding up her old school Kodak camera, starts taking pictures to commemorate this party when there's these very aggressive knocks at the door. The women at first think it's the men coming back. They're like, well, why would they be knocking? So Val, she looks a little nervous. She opens the door. 2 masked men come bursting into the house with shotguns. Everybody on the ground, da, 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 da. Oh my God, everybody's sick to their stomach. But Diana is safely in the kitchen, and luckily these fools were loud enough so she heard them. So she just kind of presses her body up against the wall so she can't be seen. One of the masked men tells the women to take off all of their jewelry, wallets, whatever, put it in the bag. That masked man tells the other masked man, hey, go check the house, make sure there's no one else here. He runs upstairs. He runs back down. He didn't even bother going in the kitchen. He's like, the coast is clear. So Diana knows that they don't know she's there. Well, the first masked man says, well, go watch the door. So now Diana knows, okay, I can't slip out the front door. So she ends up slinking around the kitchen and going out of the window, running next door, calling the cops. And thank God she did. Because after these people start getting what they want, one of them mentions that they need to just take care of these people. As in, take care of them. The women are freaking out. Ginger, of course, the most, because hell, she's pregnant. This is the last thing. She don't want to be laying on her stomach, A. B, nobody wants to be held at gunpoint. There is a third masked man outside who has decided to take off his mask and just chill because, this is before Ring cameras. This is before cell phone. There's no surveillance. He has the freedom to just stand out there and smoke a cigarette for as long as he wants because CSI ain't that good either. in 1981. But he sees the cops start coming down the road. Now, I don't know what the hell is wrong with the Knott's Landing Police Department. I don't know why they can't drive, and they don't understand the concept of like turning corners. So you hear the sirens, and then you see the cop car, and it's like they drive down the road, and they realize they've driven too far past it. They have to reverse, do like a 3-point turn, and come down the cul-de-sac. Now this fool had enough time to take a few more puffs off a cig, throws it on the ground, stamps it out, and then he runs off in the house. Hey, the cops are coming. The cops are coming. Obviously, everyone can hear it. So shout out to Diana for being on her Scooby-Dooby-Doo mystery runaway, slip out of the house before the bad guys are unmasked. She did her thing. And right about this time, the guys are at the bar and they're deciding it's probably time to go home. It's almost 11 p.m. They're grown like me. And, we're over that, y'all. I'm so embarrassed. I had a Christmas party, what was that, last week, that I was helping host, and we're having a good time, but I didn't realize that it was supposed to run till like 10:30, 11. We started at 6. Whew, I had to go home. I don't mind a good party, but I'm just like, I've been out all day. Maybe if it was like a Saturday where I hadn't been doing much all day, I probably could hang, but God, this is for the birds. So me and the men folk feel like 10 o'clock, this is enough of this. Let's go home. So they pull up on the street and all the men can see is that there's cops everywhere. But I have to remember, this is before cell phones. This is before anything else. They're not actually sure what happened. As far as they know, there could have been an accident. There could have been a fire. So they're just kind of looking around, and the cops are telling them they should leave. They're trying to explain that they live in this area. And one of the guys at the sheriff, one of the cops recognizes Sid. So he's like, oh, hey, Diana didn't know how to get a hold of you. She comes running out of the back of the car and she explains to the gentleman that, hey, yeah, there was two dudes burst in the house with guns. They have everybody at gunpoint right now. So the cop says, well, who lives next door to the Fairgates? Richard said, that's my house. He tells everybody just to go over there. So now the men are heading over there and they're fully aware of the situation at hand. Only there's really not much they can do. They have to obey the cops. They have to just kind of sit back and wait. They even have to jump the fence in order to get to Richard's house. Don't really understand why. Even if the cops are blocking the driveway, there's still the sidewalk. It matters not. Just know that everybody is fully aware of the situation. The women are living through it. They understand that Diana's fine and that things are about to go down. So, as luck would have it, the first officer that showed up with a negotiator. So they've made contact. They've been calling on the phone, talking to the guys that are holding everyone hostage. This isn't going over very well. Matter of fact, these people are hella annoyed by all this chatter, chit because they came to rob, possibly maim, shoot, destroy, and be on their merry little way. If you watch the show or if you're watching it in real time, I really, really, really hope that you guys go back and watch it first. You'll notice that on the cul-de-sac, Val and Gary's house is unique because they're the only people who have a fence in front of their yard. Everyone else can run from their front door out into the cul-de-sac, but not them. They have this spiked bar fence. So if I'm a robber or a burglar, whatever these people like to be called, you would think that if you're going to do a smash and grab, or if you just want to do a little B&E, steal a little something and move on, why not pick one of the homes with a little less security? Why not pick a home that's empty? Because if everyone's gathered at Val's house, they can't very well be at their own house. We learned through a small conversation that Sid and Karen's boys are off at basketball camp. Abby's kids are away at camp. Jason, who is Laura and Richard's son, is at the babysitter. So they bypassed 4 other unlit homes and picked the one house that was not only well lit, but that there was a gate, fortified. You already know these people are on a different level. They just didn't want to do a little B&E. They had a plan. They wanted to scare someone. They wanted to take a hostage. They wanted an assault charge, basically. So the women are in the house and Ginger is not doing well. I don't know if she's going into like false labor, if the stress is inducing labor, but she is not doing well. And one of the kidnappers or burglars or whatever decides instead of negotiating with the cops over the phone, they're going to parade Ginger out in front of everybody so that they can get their needs met. They're thinking, hey, we got this pregnant lady. If you don't want anything to happen to her, send us a van. We'll drop her off at the hospital. The negotiator feels like he's at the bazaar versus like a hostage situation. Well, what are you going to give me? Listen, I understand how these things work, but if they're at a standstill at this point, it's as if he's calling their bluff, which would be fine if these were normal people. However, anyone who chose to do armed robbery, picked the house with people in it, and then chose to do it, these aren't the type of people you can negotiate with. Well, as this person, let's go ahead and tell, it's a woman, is parading Ginger around in front of the cops, Kenny gets wind of it because he can see out the window at Richard's house. So he comes bursting out of the house, takes a cop and two of the men folk to hold him back. He's trying to get to his woman. He just can't even believe this is happening. But after he gets back, he's like, you know what? Fellas, I was tripping. You're right. Jet's right. This chin and me, I'm sorry. I don't know what got into me. I thought I could get over there. Cops, I really need you to do something. So when they see it's almost as if every other man had that same reaction. They just didn't act on it. So when they go back in the house, they're talking to the guy, the cop who's explaining the situation. They're wondering, why is everything taking so long? How come nothing is happening? And he explains to them that they need to take their time. They want to draw this out, take as long as possible because it incentivizes the burglars to not do any harm to any of the hostages. You know what I mean? They're already kind of surrounded. But the truth is they're waiting on SWAT to get there. So I'm assuming SWAT was very new at this time. Richard is the mouthpiece kind of explaining to us what SWAT means and why they're there. But the women are just more concerned with Ginger. Once Ginger gets put back into the house, the third burglar seems to have a heart of gold. So you have a woman, a man, and then a younger man. Now the younger man is looking at Ginger and he's really concerned, like, we got to figure out something, like she's not faking these pains. But the woman is surprisingly cold and insensitive. So we get a little bit of a backstory. She and guy number one, I got to give them names or it's going to get confusing. So we have the woman boss who's running the thing, the ringleader. She's married to 90s heartthrob haircut robber who also happens to be hopped up on that stuff. He's on that smack. He's on them drugs. So he's extremely irrational the entire episode. It makes it so much more tense because you know he's not in his right mind and you really don't know what he's going to do. It's like he's going to accidentally shoot someone. He's kind of sweating. He's over there flirting with Abby. Abby's flirting with him. But the women are slowly coming to the realization that nothing is happening. Abby is, of course, flirting with 90s heartthrob robber. He's got the Skeet Ulrich haircut. He's got that Ryder Strong, that quintessential 90s haircut in 1981. As the ringleader boss lady is watching on, she gets annoyed. She tells Abby, just get the hell out of here. Turns out, ringleader and 90s heartthrob used to be married at some point, but she divorced him real quick because she knew he wasn't ish. She also can tell that he's high and she's pissed because he promised not to be getting high. She needs him in a clear state of mind. He needs to be conscious. He needs to be cognizant of all the things that are going on, but he can't do that without that dope. And he's like, I'm so sorry, baby. I just need this to get through. And now she's like, crap. Like, you can tell she's kind of defeated, but she's playing the game. The burglar with the heart of gold is just kind of off to the side, watching everything, feeling guilty and whatnot. He is not meant for this. This is not his ministry. In the kitchen, Abby is drinking water from the faucet like she's like she's 5 years old when Laura swipes the faucet head the other way, starts filling up a glass because she's classy. Immediately you get to see the difference between the two. Laura is disgusted. She's disgusted because she sees Abby flirting with 90s heartthrob robber. Probably she's annoyed too because she knows that Abby and Richard had a whole thing going on. So Abby is in her feelings because she wanted to continue to drink water from the cup of her hands. So she's like, Laura, what is your problem? I was like, you know what my problem is. You are my problem. You get on my last nerve. She and Abby go back and forth a little bit. And before you know it, Laura goes, you're such a slut, and slaps the taste out of Abby's mouth. Now Abby turns her head. It hurt. It hurt. You know what I'm saying? She's not going to cry, but it hurt. But she's holding her face, and it's almost as if she's like, okay, I'm going to let you have that one because I know that you know that you know that I know that I'm sleeping with your man or was. So I'm gonna let you have that one. But I need you to understand something. I'm doing what I have to. See, Abby has already put it together in her mind. These people are crazy and they need an opening, and she's willing to do whatever it takes. If that means he gets to fill her up, that means she's got to take one for the team so that they can maybe break through a window or something. So be it. And you start to see, even though Laura doesn't like her, she knows Abby's telling the truth. And we start to realize that Abby is not only like the neighborhood seductress, she weaponizes sex in many different ways. And in this instance, I'll use what I got to get what I want. And I want an opening for us to get the heck out of here. The other women are really starting to feel that way too. They're starting to understand it's taking way too long. Ginger's getting worse and worse. Eventually, they're going to have to come up with a plan and get out of there themselves. No one is coming to save them. And that is super unfortunate because the drugs are starting to run their course within 90s heartthrob burglar. He starts flipping out, tells the cop they have 15 minutes, and he wants sandwiches and coffee, so he wants somebody to get in the kitchen and make it happen. He reaches for Laura. Of course, Karen, being the superhero she is, she jumps up to wrestle him down, and her wedding ring falls from out of her bosom. See, when they were dumping all of their jewelry and whatnot into that bag, she shoved her wedding ring in her mouth and put her other jewelry in there and then just stuffed it in her bra later. It has come undone, and this makes 90s heartthrob come undone. He reaches back to Kenya, comes all across the Atlantic, all across the continental U.S., and slaps her 3 feet back. She's freaked out because now they know this is just getting worse for wear. It's not going any better over at the men folks' house either. Gary is starting to get wound up. He's seeing all this commotion. The whole SWAT thing did not go over well with him because he's thinking, can't send people over there with automatic weapons and not expect something to pop off. I totally agree with him, but also agree with the negotiator. He's like, these dudes know their job. I mean, it's been this long. This is kind of a formula. This ain't gonna happen. Now, somehow or another, this reporter manages to walk into Richard's house asking all these questions. And he's like kind of giving them attitude. Gary ain't with it. Like I said, there's smoke to be had. Gary wants it. Plus, this is a hostage situation. There's a whole situation going on at his house. So he ends up attacking the damn reporter, laying hands on him, beating him off. It takes 2, 3, 5 cops to pull Gary off of this dude. He's about that action. Jackson, but I mean, it's a tense situation. He hasn't had a lick to drink. Eventually, you start to see how everybody really is feeling. Kenny is clearly upset. The women are clearly upset. The redheaded lady, the boss, I forgot to mention this part. She did end up saving Karen because 90s heartthrob, after he slapped her across the room, he was about to butt her in the face with the gun, but she went and she stopped him. But like I said, this woman looks defeated this entire episode. She already knows her fate is sealed, but she's doing the bare minimum. She is quietly quitting a life of crime. They just have to make it through this whole fiasco. So I don't want to give away too much now that we all have kind of an equal playing field. This one is out there for everyone to watch. So I'm going to leave out a little chunk. But I'll say this episode so good. It was tense. It was dramatic. I love that it involved the entire cast. There's an unusual moment with Richard that is starting to pull me into him more and more. He has these little moments from time to time where you see his humanity. You see the sort of soft, gooey center inside his hard candy exterior. And you know there's something there. I don't think he's a good person. I don't even think he's a hurt person. I think he's an egomaniac. But he has these moments where it's like, I forget how dependent he really, really is on Laura. And then with Laura, I just forget. She's so go with the flow when it comes to him. I forget that there's actually maybe a little bit of tension. He's the only one who's ever really, really going to show it. She always just kind of goes with everything. And she's managing this whole thing with Abby well, but at the same time, I'm wondering why they don't confront each other. She didn't even confront her in the kitchen. She just called her a slut. We all know what she was talking about. It ain't really about 90s heartthrob. It's really about Richard. But I'm starting to enjoy that sort of tension, and I'm starting to enjoy getting a peek at his psyche from time to time. It's worth noting that Kenny and Ginger still don't fully live with each other this episode. She is making him work for it. And it's interesting to see the contrast between how hard he has to work to get back into Ginger's good graces, even though she acknowledged that he'd had affairs before. But when it comes to some of the other couples, Val is completely content to just let it go, not say a word. I don't know what's going to come up with Sid. I still would really, really, really like to know if Sid did the do. I kind of feel like he did. Hopefully that comes back up. But I don't see Karen. I don't see her pulling a Ginger and making him work to get back. Seems like the rest of the women are kind of content to just be like, okay, this is life. This could be that Kenny and Ginger are the quote unquote newlyweds. And so their fights are going to be a little bit more substantial. But yeah, this was a good episode. It was very tense the entire time. They made sure to make, even though this is like a 45-minute show, they made sure to make you feel every minute of tension that was within the household while they were being held hostage. I'm going to leave off the end, hoping you guys go and watch this. That's it. That's all. Join me for another fun-filled edition of Soap Lore as we explore another episode of Knott's Landing. I believe we are season 2, episode 15. Don't know what it's called. You'll find out with me next time. In the meantime, in between time, my God, set up the ring camera, lock the door. If 3 people walk into a room and 5 people are in that room, make it a melee, baby. Make it worth your while. Make it a long night for everybody involved. Because if I'm going to sweat bullets, you're going to sweat bullets. Then moisturize, stay hydrated, mind your business, lock your doors, and keep all of your